Hey, what's up everybody? Video 44 coming at you in another video. Alright, so I tried some Japanese seasoning. Some spicy Japanese something. I don't know. I gotta go light with it because I don't know. It's supposed to have no garlic in it, which was basically the purpose of what it is I was purchasing, because everything that they had in terms of seasoning had garlic. Can't do garlic. Can't do onion powder. Don't like curry. And so it's one of those situations where it's like I'm kind of stuck when it comes to the seasoning. I don't like everything, and the stuff that I do like I'm allergic to. So it's like, what do you do? Well, you try some Japanese seasoning. That's what you do. You take some type of cayenne, doesn't have any garlic in it, doesn't have any sea salt, doesn't have any onion powder. So I guess you know what I mean, you gotta really do the best you can. And so there's some cayenne in there, so I gotta go light with it. But I just want to spice up my rice and my turkey if at all possible. The type of seasoning that I had was okay, but it was like lemon. And the thing about lemon is it's just sour. That's all it is. So when you start realizing that, yeah, it digests pretty well, but at the end of the day, it's not really serving much of the purpose that you want it to make your food taste better. Garlic is really what spices up most seasonings from what I see. And unfortunately, anything with garlic in it is a problem for me. So it's a nightmare, man. I gotta eat bland. In order to digest the food properly, I must eat bland. And spicy is going to kill my stomach in and of itself. You know what I mean? For different reasons. So it's like, I don't know, man. I'm trying to find something that works, but it ain't a whole lot that I can really do. This is just the curse of my life, man. But at the same time, it's like, well, you know, you just try to see if there's anything that does work. And if you find something that does work, then you're in the money. Now you know what goes for yourself. So it was only like $5 buying some seasoning at the Whole Foods Market, and I trust that God will make it so that my stomach's not burning, and you know, not too heavy-handed with this on any given night. So that's really what it is, man. I'm gonna eat what I have. I'm not gonna spend any money, and pray to God that the discount that she quoted me will still be on for tomorrow. And if it is, then I'll finally be able to have some breathing room financially. But until then, we just kind of don't know what the situation will be. So I don't know, man. Just living my life the best way I know how, man. I appreciate all the experience the Lord has given me through difficulties. And as far as the curse of not being able to eat what I want to eat, well, it's almost like, I don't want to say it that way. I was thinking something that's probably not the right way to put it, but the point is, I was able to live a good long time eating what I wanted to eat. You know what I mean? It's not like I've been like this my whole life. I've tasted some of everything. I was a chubby kid who had no end to my bottomless pit that was my stomach. So it's not like I'm going through this life having not tasted much. Candy, cookies, seasonings, foods of any kind. If I ever really desired to try it, I probably already have. Eaten so much gluttony, ate a whole tub of red vines. You know the tubes that they have, where you can buy like 700 of them in a like a tube setting, where you twist the top off of that thing, and it's just a bunch of them. They usually sell them that way sometimes. Yeah, I ate like one of those in like a day and a half once. My mom bought me that thing for Christmas. All I did was sit down and eat those and play video games. Like literally. I used to run through a tub of those in like 5 days most of the time. But there was that one setting where I ate like half of them in one day and then finished off the rest of them the next day. So it's like, for somebody who has grown to be allergic to literally everything, I got the most out of my stomach. I got the most out of my taste buds. It's not like I'm sitting here saying, oh, I missed out on so much. I ain't missing out on nothing. Don't feel sorry for me in that regard. It's just that I can't continue to eat that way. I know exactly what I'm missing. Bad at all. And it's the same way I feel about hair. I grew my hair out 3 times in my life. I had all kinds of braids, afros, permed. I did it all, dude. I don't need any more hair on my head. You know what I mean? I don't need any more hair on my head. I got exhausted all of that before the age of 25. I really did. And as far as I can tell, shaving my head is a burden. So if my hair wants to completely fall out, it'll help me, because I don't have any intention of growing it out ever again. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's the blessing of my life. Having fully been able to exhaust certain things, and now at this point I can no longer do. I can't grow my hair out like that because my hairline's receding. I don't care. You'll never know because I'm going to shave it every time. I'm shaving that thing every 3 days at the most. So what the hell do I care about receding hairline? And so that's really what it comes down to, man. I just roll with the punches, man. I ain't really doing too much complaining. I determined I wanted to be bald way before that hairline started receding. Well before. You know what I'm saying? That's just how I was wired. So I don't ever desire to do the hair thing again. I pick my hair out every day for years at a time, man. Afro picks, I had to pick with the fist. I had a blue one, I had a black one, I had a pink one, not a pink one. Did I have a pink one? No, it was a red one. Plastic, metal. I got the most out of my hair, man. I really did. And same thing with smoking weed. It's like, I don't smoke weed at this era in my life, but I've tried all the weed I ever wanted to try, bro. If I'm told I can never smoke weed again, it's not like I ain't spent a good portion of my life high as hell, man. I had smoked all the weed, bro. All of it. Like, I went through a whole era of my life where all I did was buy different strands every time I'd go. Try to make sure I never buy the same strands twice for like a year and a half. That was all I was on, which is why my brain was such mush in my 30s, early 30s, and the late 20s, because I was smoking whatever every day. Different stuff. In fact, when I started my channel, I may have been in that era of my life. Or well after I started my channel, actually. Yeah. I might even showed the camera my bag of weed at one point, early on, where I had like 40 strands in a Ziploc in different little containers. Like, I'm telling you, I exhausted myself for everything. That's the one thing about being me that I can legitimately say. If I ever wanted to do something, I did it. As it pertains to exhausting myself for something, I got plenty of life out of this life in 40 years. If the Lord wants to end this thing, it's not like I didn't do most of what it is I wanted to do. There was a lot of places I didn't get to go. I ain't gonna sit up here and act like I did a lot of traveling, but as far as me choosing and then from there seeing it through and exhausting something that I wanted, I did it all now, man, at this point. So now I'm just like, oh, whatever the Lord want to do next, I'm kind of like, whatever, dude. I truly am. You know, I appreciate being alive, don't get it twisted, but like, it's not like I didn't live. Walking past the hotel right now, I'm not quite ready to go back in. I'll probably take a couple blocks down this way and walk before I come back. But yeah, man, I hope you're able to get the most out of your life too. A lot of people live their lives suppressed, and although they're tunnel vision on what it is they need to do so that they can secure themselves the life they want, and that holds a lot of value, this is the other side of that. You miss out on a lot of things that those who kind of lived frivolously never gave themselves, were able to give themselves, in terms of exhausting all of their desires or whatever the hell it would be. I got all of that out. Everything I wanted to do, I've done it already before 40. Now I'm just on like, you pay for the consequences of not being focused. I think that's where we're at now. It's like, and you screw around too much in your life, and you don't take things seriously in your life, and you let your brain kind of just go by the wayside. Your business doesn't get aligned. This is what comes with that too. Yeah, I've enjoyed a lot of what happened at 40, but my life isn't straight at 40. So, you take the good with the bad, regardless of what it is you do. And for me, I don't see a path to things getting so much better without me having to do so much of what it is that I ultimately did a great deal of avoiding and not conditioned really for. So I don't know. It's up to God, I've burned a lot of bridges as well, I believe, as it pertains to like the music business or the entertainment business. I don't think I would ever be able to walk through those doors because of the type of gatekeepers that are there and the type of war that I've waged against their intentions on this channel. They get a whiff of who I really am and what it is I stand for. They ain't gonna never let me in on them gates. Our gatekeepers, they ain't gonna let me through any of them gates. No way. But I also feel like You know, that's worthy. It's a worthy thing, because a lot of what it is they have is really cursed. And you consider, if someone's doing things they have no business doing, behaving evil and such, then you taking what it is they have to offer. If you really believe spiritually that what they're doing is wrong, you know that what they're giving you is not attached to anything blessed. So a lot of the circumstances that people get involved in, knowing that the people they're taking their bread from are awful human beings, knowing that the people who are paying them or playing them with blood money, you get what comes with that cursed stuff. You know what I mean? So you end up taking on your greatest dream and end up having a horrible fate. Or you enjoy it for some time and then find yourself lower than I find myself right now. It's like the path that you want to be on is the path where the things that come your way come from blessed hands. And as far as I can tell, if I'm taking from, quote unquote, the man, and all of the stuff that he's proven himself to be up to right now, I know for a fact that his hands are not blessed. So whatever he's handing me is not going to be for my betterment. Whatever opportunities I get from him are ultimately terrible for me. Whether I choose to believe that or not is irrelevant. The consequences of taking from him what it is I otherwise would will prove to me that I shouldn't have took anything from it at all. And I think that's what a lot of celebrities are going to ultimately find out. Those hands aren't blessed, man. You trying so hard to get through them doors is cursed. What's behind them doors is cursed. God ain't there. You know what I'm saying? And you be praying all day long, but you walking through the devil's doorsteps. Y'all trying so hard and working so hard, but like you neglect the spiritual aspect of the fact that people, a lot of times behind those gatekeepers is the sins that they've allowed to happen in their midst, the sins that they've committed themselves, the discarding of so many people that deserved what it is they had, and various different things like that. It's just like, yo, are you sure you should want what they have for you? Are you sure you're better for taking what they're offering? That's what I say. We always know what we want, but we don't know what comes with what we want. So therefore, we're not really sure if what we want is what we want. We just think we have a perception of what it is versus what it is to have it in our hands. If we even think that far. A lot of times we don't. We've talked about this several times. And this is a concept that's been in my heart for a long time. I don't know what comes with what. I may want that girl, but she may not be blessed next to me. For all I know, our fate is going to have us unhappy with one another. Or have it so that we both perish together. You know what I mean? Like, as opposed to flourish together. It's the wrong wish, man. And people are chasing things that they want. Not doing good things to get it. Not respecting the fact that some things don't necessarily end up blessed when you touch them. They may be for someone else, so they look great when they have what it is you want. Once you get it, it may not be the same thing. Or you get it in an ill-gotten gain type of way, and then you can't keep it. Or your reputation is soured because of the path that it took to get that. Or now you got to hide your intentions, or rather the truth about what it is that you did to get what you got. You got to live a lie or live in the dark or something. You know what I mean? It's like some of that stuff takes your freedom away while we're trying so hard to get what we want. And what we want is attached to the chains that are going to bind us for the rest of our lives. I mean, if it's going to be bad for you, why would you otherwise welcome it? And that we're so certain it's not bad for us speaks to a certain thing that we really can't actually predict properly. The odds of us predicting that can teeter either way. And so that's how I look at life as well. Not to say that I give myself a pass for not doing my best and not getting the consequences from that, because that very easily could be a scapegoat for never trying, and I don't allow it to be. But to say that I'm just going to do whatever I want to get whatever I want, assuming that it's going to be the same thing in my hands as it is in somebody else's, that could be a mistake. You don't know if it's going to work well for you. You may get that car crashing that car. You may get that girl and she end up be your downfall. She end up breaking your heart in a million pieces. You end up passing up the person that is meant for you because you were walking around with her. You know what I'm saying? You end up getting that money, and that money end up getting taken from you because you get sued by the people you harmed to get the money. You know what I mean? They end up throwing you in prison for all the stuff you did to get that damn money. You don't keep it for long. It's like it's a million stuff. It's a million different paths, man. And I can guarantee you, the worst path is the path that comes from ill-gotten gain. In the long run, in the long run. There's many people thinking they're getting away with stuff. There's many people thinking there's no path to their downfall based on what it is that looks good. Oh, they ain't about to get to me. I'm connected this way. Oh, they can't do nothing to us because we control the world. Oh, they can't do nothing to us because our gang is big. Oh, they can't do nothing to us because there ain't no way they're going to catch what I've done. I covered every step, dotted every T, crossed every I. Yeah, but there's certain things that are not within your control that could unroot the foundation of what it is that you think you're looking at. Changing the world entirely. And shaking it up in such a way that changes that for you. We got to be able to see that as a possibility if we're going to properly protect ourselves from the things that could potentially go terribly wrong. You know what I'm saying? And just the same as you predict things are going to go a certain way, maybe doing things where allows that you are sacrificing certain things that maybe you want lead you to the happiest of happy. Maybe it's that very sacrifice that puts you in the strongest position. You know what I mean? I just want people to have some thought in their head about the possibility of not just hoarding everything you want in whatever way you can just because you don't believe in a God. Maybe you don't believe in God, so you just think whatever I get. Or however I get it. And nobody's going to do nothing to me because I'm connected or however, whatever that is. And I want you to be open to the idea that it doesn't necessarily play out that way. And that you may not be necessarily cut out for the consequences where it doesn't play out properly. And look around at some of the people who've suffered the consequences that come with mischaracterizing their circumstances like they did. See that person in yourself as you move forward in whatever it is you're doing. Look at Diddy. Look at so many different ones that have been caught up doing stuff they had no business doing, living a life that didn't look like it had no chance for consequences to come their way. They didn't see it. Maybe you saw the consequences coming. Maybe you were wiser than they were in regards to their own circumstances, but that's not the point. Because we're applying the fact that we may not be wise enough within our own. It's not that you could see what was coming for Diddy and he wasn't none the wiser and therefore he's an idiot. That's not where the thinking stops for you. It's that you have an idea and a notion that maybe you are in that same way in a different way, so to speak. You may have that same thing going on in a different way. I'm not a sex freak, sicko billionaire, but I may be doing something I shouldn't be doing in another area and think I'm going to get away with it. And it may not look like I'm going to be able to get caught for that. And so it's like, if you can't see where he made that same mistake in his own way, and it didn't work out, and how much confidence he had that things were going to work out, despite the reality of them now being that he's in the worst of ways, maybe you can learn from that lesson to say, I'm not going to let that happen to me. I'm not going to let that happen to me in my own walk of life. I'm going to think that it's possible that I can fall. I'm going to think that I maybe should stay away from those parameters that otherwise allow me to throw away my morals. Maybe it will be best for me in the long run, even if I can't see how that may be the case. I can see where he went wrong thinking it wasn't going to be the case, and there we are. It's the importance of learning from other people's mistakes. And learning from other people's arrogance. That arrogance of teaching them a hard lesson that you're supposed to learn from. You know what I'm saying? It's supposed to be an example, and a lot of times we're not heeding those examples for whatever reasons. Maybe we aren't raised to. But we need to learn how to adapt to that as it happens, or we're going to fall in them same holes, man. Or different ones in the same way. So that's really what I wanted to say, man. That's on my mind. Arrogance is a dangerous thing to buy into. Pride before the fall. You know what I'm saying? You got to know that people really do think that nothing's going to happen to them right before it happens. A lot of the time. They think they can't nothing touch them. Man, nothing gonna touch me. I'm me. And then they end up learning that hard lesson that teaches them that being them doesn't have to last forever. What's up, buddy? See, you got another lizard. I'm telling you, Riverside got their lizards. I'm gonna call this Lizardside. Wild lizards. And that's something you do not see where I'm from. But yeah, man. I think wisdom is something that we should really teach ourselves, if not others, how to respect and appreciate. Just like we respect and appreciate so many different other things that may have more material attached to them. And it doesn't necessarily mean physical material necessarily, although it can, but we're talking about like respect and appreciation and things that come our way. Wisdom, we don't tend to value the same way we value certain other things, because it's not attached to the stroke of our ego or the comforting of our fears. You know what I mean? Wisdom's just a know-how, and a lot of times we don't care for the know-how. We just want the consequences of having it done. You know what I mean? Or we just want to avoid the consequences that come with not being wise. But we don't actually want to value the wisdom itself a lot of times, or we are too arrogant to do so. Wisdom, I think, should be cherished just like you cherish any of the other emotional coaxing feelings that come our way. Whatever makes our feelings feel good, whatever compliments you are paid, or whatever applause you may receive, or whatever, someone may pay you, or what have you. All the different things that we welcome in our lives and make us feel better. Wisdom is probably the most valuable one of them all. You know what I'm saying? And it's also the most discarded of, ironically enough. And so, yeah, that's my attitude, man. I want people to value wisdom in a different way, man. Value the understanding that things can get better if we do things the right way, and can get worse if we do things the wrong way. It's very simple, yet very complicated, because we're taught how to do things the wrong way. And then we're taught how to want things and not wisdom. How to value stuff and not substance. And that stuff don't really yield us no results. We end up unhappy with the presence of having all that stuff any damn way, because we're lacking the wisdom of how to appreciate it. Just like I was discussing with you guys earlier. I don't think my life is that bad as it pertains to the stuff that I've gone through today that sucked, because I have some understanding of what suck actually means when someone's really suffering. I ain't suffering. I'm standing on my own 2 feet. I'm healthy. I'm walking back and forth. I have what I need. My life ain't bad. You know what I mean? But it's the understanding of things that allow you the privilege of being able to absorb your hard times and still not feel bad for yourself, because of the presence of understanding of how much good you have going on in your life in comparison to somebody who may not have it so good. And even they have some wisdom as to say, I think my life is not as bad as someone else. It could be bad, but it could be worse. You know what I mean? And so that wisdom and that appreciation and that love for self and others is valuable. You know what I mean? That awareness, context, that stuff holds so much weight in regards to how you absorb your life's trials. So you don't feel like it's okay to sit back and feel sorry for yourself because of whatever discomfort comes your way based on your conditioning. That your conditioning is measured and custom, whether all to yourself. It's not with somebody else who's used to going through a lot worse would otherwise crumble in the presence of. You don't have to crumble in the presence of your problems. You don't have to pay them so much mind as to say, woe is me, or I'm depressed. And the depression, it comes from a certain lack of context to know that you have but so much to be thankful for, or rather so much more to be thankful for, and but so much to be sorry about, or feel sorry for yourself in regards to. And every which way that conversation can go, man. It ain't that bad. It can be much better. It will be much better. And a lot of it has to do with how we handle what's wrong. What happens next. And how much effort we put into what it is we're doing can determine how we handle what goes right or wrong next. And you got to give yourself some credit. to say that I can absorb a difficult day and not have the worst attitude to pass to somebody else. I can absorb what sucks in my mind in acknowledgement of somebody else who has it actually bad. You know? Give yourself some credit. Give myself plenty credit now, man. I done been through a bad day. This ain't that. Today might not have been my best day, but I'm going to do my best at absorbing it. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to put out my best effort. And that's the point. That is the point. And we absorb our life, taking on less stress, that we wear less on our face, so to speak. Because you know, stress and a frown can weigh you down and age you, bringing up ulcers and all that stuff. A lot of that stuff is internal. And so if I can help coerce people away from going down those mental paths of feeling sorry for themselves, to acknowledge that they need to give themselves some credit, to acknowledge that they need to give credence to the suffering of others that is so much worse than your own. You know what I'm saying? Whatever your circumstance is, it may be a lot worse than mine. This still applies to you. That's the point. It still applies. Even your life may be a lot better than mine. And you still may be having a bad day based on what it is you're going through. It most definitely applies. Because there's always somebody who's having a worse day than you, man. It's always somebody who has to overcome more. It's always somebody who's going to need what it is that you are suffering about, you're frustrated about. You wish they had what you need, what you have. They need what you have that you aren't really taking into account as you struggle with yourself. You're miserable sitting in your home. That's a home they need. You're miserable with that plate of food in front of you. You don't want to eat. That's a plate they need. Or you're like me, you had a bad shower situation over the last 3 weeks. That's a shower they need. You feel me? The very thing you complain about, I don't want to eat this. I don't like this situation. I'm tired of this person I'm next to. That may be the very thing that they're praying for. It may be the very circumstance that if they had it in their life, it make their day so much greater while you over here complaining about it. And as we think of these things, when we're feeling our lowest, when we're depressed, it should disarm that spirit of depression to some very, very massive degree, if you ask me. If we truly embody that, and a lot of times we got to tell ourselves, I don't want to feel bad. Because a lot of times we will feel bad having all of this in our understanding, but we're still holding on to depression. We got to convince ourselves that depression is something to let go of, that we don't deserve to feel bad, that we don't deserve to feel depressed and feel defeated. That is not God's will for us to be depressed or to absorb our hard times so difficult that we don't even want to smile. Like, we got to understand that is not for you. That's against you. And that being as it is not meant to fester inside of you, but more so meant to convert you into somebody who's less useful to those who really need your happiness in their presence. People who really need to see you at your best so that they can have some hope about whatever it is they're going through. A lot of times we feel like our depression is about us. No, it's an attack on somebody else who would otherwise be better for our energy being better. It's a weapon against the happiness of others. When you take your depression and bring the mood down in the room, or refrain from being the person that helps somebody else because you want to stay away because you're depressed, that's a weapon. A lot of times we don't look at it that way because we're too busy feeling it and it's pointed at us and we're self-centered. But the reality is it's meant to keep us away from not only people who will be blessings to us, but being a blessing to someone else. That depression is meant to keep you away. It's just like I say, the analogy of the porcupine. And the porcupine feels so many different ways, but he ain't gonna never let nobody near him, regardless of how he feels, because that for which is his protected ultimately keeps everyone at a distance. He may have the personality of somebody who would otherwise give the greatest hugs, but they know that it is that for which they have on them naturally, that puts them in a position to never be able to give hugs without hurting the person that's reaching around them. I said all that to say your depression, you got to reject that. Because unlike the porcupine, he can't drop his spikes. But you can most definitely disarm yourself of yours and see the fruit in working through the mental gymnastics necessary to convince yourself that not only do you not deserve to be depressed, but that those who would otherwise be blessed for your energy don't deserve to have you far away or at a distance. And that porcupine nature can be dropped. Those spikes can be dropped by you. They tell you it's chemical, maybe. It may be. But there is also a part of it that has to be worked through so that you can be within it and stay in it. A lot of times I was in my depression, I felt like I didn't want to see if others could be a blessing to that depression. To cross over from the comfort of staying in my isolated space to get to where they are to otherwise make me feel better, hurt in and of itself. I don't want to be around none of them people. I'm cool. Until I'm forced to be in that space when I find out that it was people that were lacking. In terms of my circumference, what would have otherwise made me feel better was people. But I had to stay away from them in my mind because I was depressed. The antidote to my depression, I was rejected. You see what I'm saying? The very thing that would have made it perfect for me was the people I was staying away from, thinking that they were going to enhance that depression or whatever I told my mind it was. Judge me, or that I was going to bring them down, or whatever the case. And it never worked that way. It never worked that way. And so I'm here to tell y'all that's also part of it. Yeah, we can just live with the idea that, yeah, there's something wrong here. I might be, depressed, and maybe it's just it's no use. And maybe there will be people who can't overcome that for their own reasons. Maybe I can't talk you through that, depending on who you are and what your depression is based on, or what is really going on with your brain. But a good portion of us, a lot of times, we just have to find ways to disarm that. We got to give ourselves credit to say we're strong enough to cross over to that threshold to discover the very thing that we push away is the antidote or the cure, so to speak, for that depression. And if we just allow somebody in to our circumference, we may find out that they are the solution. Or maybe for you it's not people. Maybe for you it's something else that you're refraining from doing that would otherwise be that solution. But you got to be willing to give yourself the credit to say, I'm strong enough to find out. I'm strong enough and deserve to find out. This depression is not something to wear like a badge of honor. Pull this thing off. I don't deserve it, and I ain't better for it, and other people are better also for me not having it. And I wish to let go of it. And that's where it starts. To wish to let go of your depression is a big part of it, friends. To let go of that, or whatever you're holding on to. Maybe it's not depression. Maybe it's something else. But to let go of it, the first thing has to be you wanting to. And that's all I've been trying to say there. So, I don't know. I think I helped somebody. I hope I did. I tell you the truth, I haven't felt depression in a long time. I don't feel it today. But I felt so much in my life that I feel like I'm an expert on it. But ever since I stopped smoking weed, I really ain't felt no depression. None. And that's also something we have to have some notion to. As I've told you guys on this camera a couple times, that very thing that I didn't feel no more depression after I stopped smoking weed. But while I was smoking weed, I would feel all types of different negative feelings, depression, inner feelings, negativity, and stuff like that. Sometimes the very thing we hugging, holding on to, thinking we need, telling ourselves we can't live without, is the very thing bringing us to that depressed space that ultimately we need to stay the hell away from. It's that brings about the depression. Always use what comes first, the chicken or the egg analogy. In this case, what comes first is the substance, and then the problems that come with your mind being altered. And that substance You stay out of that substance space, and you find yourself in a much more advantageous position to not be altered in the way that that substance provides. I'm anxious. I'm real, jittery. That jittery comes from smoking that weed, from taking them drugs. That's not a natural feeling. But if you never take your time off of them drugs, then whatever comes with those drugs are a natural feeling, because you never allow yourself to come down. That was me when it came to weed. I so wrapped up in the habit, to the symptoms of the habit were no longer a symptom of the habit, but more so how I identified my own natural self. This is who I am. This is how my brain works. No, you're always high, fam. You never come down to see that that's not who you are when you're not high. You got to allow yourself to get away from that so you can see how you are without it. Then do an assessment of your mental space. Then do an assessment of your natural self. Because you are never natural if you are the type of person I was, where you're constantly smoking, constantly on a drug or whatever it was, constantly drinking. I'm sure that applies to people who are alcoholics as well. You know what I mean? They assess their equilibrium or whatever based on their tolerance for liquor, and they never allow themselves to come down from the liquor. I'm clumsy. No, you're not clumsy. You're drunk all the time. I'm depressed. No, you're not depressed. The weed brings about that depression, and you're always high. See what I'm saying? And it took going through that for me. It took staying away from it for some extended period of time, and waking up in the morning realizing I'm not depressed at all, and haven't been since I stopped smoking, for me to even know that. And I wish somebody would have told me that. I wish my new self, the one I am today, could go back and tell me at Lennox, like, bro, you're not a depressed person. You just smoke weed all the time, and that's what it do to your head. That's what it does to you. They don't do that to somebody else, but it will do that to you. And that assessment of self is so important. That truth about who I am versus what I should want was real for me, man. I didn't get it. Years and years and years of not getting it. Years and years and years of misdiagnosing, so to speak, my natural self. Forgetting I'm even smoking weed. Forgetting that weed even does things to me that I need to adjust out of. That's how addicted I was. And so that's what I want to say to everybody, man. I'm back at the hotel now. I think I'm ready to go back in. But I really want people to give some credence to all that I've said here. You know, everything I said. Wisdom is something to hold on to. And don't misdiagnose yourself based on your habits and what those habits do to you. Get off of those things for a second and then assess yourself to see how you feel without them. You might find out that that's not who you actually are. That's not your natural self. That you don't never need to think that about yourself. Video 44. I thank you for watching. No.